the comments and everything. So if I miss your comment, just speak up and again and say, hey, I asked a question and ask it again. Because I really do try to get to all the comments. And, if you have a question or a comment or anything like that, then join us. So, also, if you just join us, if you can please share out this live, let's get the word out that we're on the air and like it. If you touch the little button a million times and the little hearts float up, that helps the algorithm to know that we've got something worthy to say. And sometimes when I try to do those little hearts, it closes the screen instead. Do y'all have that problem or is it just me?
I've never tried it, so I wouldn't know.
Oh, well, if you tap your screen like this, like just keep tapping it, little hearts will flutter up, and that lets the people know that you're liking the live. So, all right, I'm going to go through this bill one more time, and then we'll go ahead and get started. I'm author Casey Mitchell. I write in multiple genres, and I host the Indie Author Access on Friday night at 7 o'clock. And this platform that I'm doing on now is my author platform. I've been doing it on here for about 4 months, but starting July 1st, the Indie Author Access Live will be hosted on the Indie Author Access platform. I created its own little channel so I can separate the algorithm and don't confuse it anymore because it was getting confused about what's my books versus me, pushing and helping and supporting other indie authors. So I decided to open that second one to help the algorithm, and also it's helped me. I don't know if it's helped other people or not, but I'm actually have been reaching a lot more indie authors by doing that. So I'm really glad that I did that. But because I already have this one set up and I've got people booked through July, I'm going to stay on this channel because people are used to seeing me here through July. And then come July 1, or July, whatever the first Friday is in July, I will be doing the Indie Author Access live on Friday night on the Indie Author Access channel. Now, for tonight, this is our feature author tonight, Maria Denison. Maria, I'm just going to turn the floor over to you for a minute. You can introduce yourself, talk about your book, what got you in writing, or how much you love it, how much you hate it, anything you want to talk about for a few minutes, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Well, my name is Maria Denison. I debuted my first book last year, and it's a 5-book series. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can
Okay,
hear you
just
fine. Can y'all hear her?
so my debut book was The Reflex, the consolidated version. I actually did publish this book as 2 parts in 2022 with a
Okay.
different cover. I was told that as a debut author, I should not publish anything that was longer than 70,000 words. I don't know why I listened to anyone. So I cut what was 110,000 words into 2 parts, produced these 2 books, put a cover on it, and hated it afterwards, hated that it was separated, hated the cover. So I
Mm,
pulled them, revamped it all, put a new cover on it because, yes, people do judge a book by its cover.
yes, they
And
do.
so I definitely went a bit more flashy instead of metaphorical and
Do you
ironic.
have
So I went,
your book with you that you can hold up and show us?
I do, I do. Of
Perfect.
course, it's going to be backwards, but
Can you put it a little bit closer to the screen so we can see it really well? I love your covers, by the way. So I don't know what the covers used to look like, but you did a great job on these. Love that.
thank you. Thank you. I owe it all to my designer, my cover designer, who put up with me and all of my craziness because I was like, not that, maybe a little bit more of that, maybe a little less of that. Thankfully, my cover designer is also my sister,
Oh,
who,
well, that is
yes,
handy.
yes, that is it's very handy. She is a Emmy Award winning graphic designer, and I
Oh,
totally take
wow.
advantage of her.
Good for
Um,
you.
I know. So yes, I'm very proud of my cover. I'm proud of her work. So
Yes.
anyway, I republished the whole thing. I'd self-published it, got it out there, and now I'm on to the second book. The second book just launched in the last 7 days. The ebook dropped with the audio first, and now the paperback and the hardcover are out. This has been a passion project for me. It is an out of the box, didn't follow the rules story. It's mystery, suspense, romance. There's humor. and there's a little supernatural element to it. I wouldn't call it paranormal. I like to call it preternatural or supernatural. But it's basically a crazy roller coaster ride.
So is it like a romance? Tell us the trope that it would fall under.
See, here's the thing: there is no trope.
Okay, it's very
I
unique.
mean, if I had to say overall what the trope is, I would call it more of a bizarre love triangle. But it is mostly mystery and suspense. It's a collective piece. There's a lot of characters. All of the characters have a story. Um, I mean, we definitely have a main female protagonist who is a mature protagonist. One of the things I really wanted to do is I wanted to write about a protagonist that wasn't a doe-eyed,
Right,
18,
20-year old.
19, 21-year old. I wanted to really explore the notion of what it means to be in your 40s, have children, be married for a decade or two, and all of the associated vulnerabilities that happen to you at that age. I mean, I've placed this book in an extraordinary circumstance to achieve that, but that's for fiction. But in the end, that's really what this is. This is coming to terms with your age, with motherhood, with being married. Um, and your found family, what it is to have a found family versus the family you were born to. So I mean, it's kind of the core here of what these books are about, but with a lot of crazy mystery and suspense around it, and it is sort of espionage based. I actually just read your book, The Last Safe House.
Oh, good. Thank you.
uh, you're welcome. It's very good. But I
Thank you.
think you did a lot of what I did in the sense that you don't want to call it an espionage book because it's really not about that. I mean, the espionage portion is it's a tool. It's background noise. I mean, these aren't Jack Ryan books. We're not going to get really into, stolen enriched uranium, and these aren't what these books are about. The espionage is the background noise. I mean, like I said, what it's really about is discovering who you are, uh, what you're going to do with the rest of your life,
Yes.
um, and the idea of reinvention and
Yes.
acceptance.
Yes, I love that. And I know it's funny that we're sitting here talking. There's a huge movement right now where readers are wanting more mature protagonists and different types of protagonists. I just read a story where the protagonist was blind, and I thought, how is that going to be? And she did a beautiful job of it. So yeah, these more normal real life protagonists and male and female characters are we want them. I think that's a movement towards that. And ironically, The Last Safe House is an 18-year-old. So,
I do know, and no offense.
but as the series goes, that there's other people in the team. Madison on the team, and her husband Jude. So there's that whole series actually covers all the tropes because each book has a different thing in it. But it is still all romantic suspense. So, and it sounds to me like yours because even though you're saying it doesn't fall in there, but it's got the love triangle, so that's romance, and it's got the mystery and all that, so that's like suspense. So it might be like a romantic suspense, but with a little bit of a different swag to it. But honestly, I've read 5 or 6 of them, especially since I finally ended up writing in that genre, and they all are a little different. So, and that's good. I
Exactly.
mean, that's fine.
Exactly. Like I didn't want to paint in the lines. I mean, I'm just
Exactly.
naturally not an in the box type of person.
Me
Um,
either.
I know I don't like the box. I always tell people it's dark and there's not a lot of oxygen in there. I don't want to be in there. Don't make me do it. I worked corporate America for a very long time.
Oh gosh,
And
I
then I
know.
left it, but I worked beside it. So working beside it wasn't as bad. But I mean, I've had so much of that in my life where people are like, no, you can't go there. Well, why? I mean, why can't I go there?
Yeah.
Well, there's some unwritten rule. You know what? I don't care. I'm going there. So, so I did the same thing with my writing. I am working on
Christine.
something a lot more traditional right now, a traditional romance with a trope, a standalone, just so that I can prove I can do that. But I do,
You don't need to prove
because
anything to anybody. You do what you want.
that's
That's
a good
what
way to
does the
put it.
best anyway.
That's a good way to put it. But yeah, I mean, like 60 or 70% of the people out there that are buying books and reading books are between the ages of 35 and 65,
Yeah,
so
that's
I
my
guess,
target audience too. So
yeah. I mean, I guess you say to yourself, well, what is it that we want to read? I mean, I
yeah,
myself was becoming quite bored with my choices. I felt like so many of the characters were completely unrelatable.
yeah, and one dimensional. I've seen a lot of that too. And I'm not just talking about indie authors, traditionally
Oh,
published,
yeah.
with the $1 million people behind them. You pick up one, you've read them all. They're so similar. So, and I know that there's arcs that are universal and all that stuff, but within the arc, you can have myriads of ideas and myriads of different characters, myriads of different backgrounds. It doesn't just because it still maintains that universal arc that's been around for 5,000 years doesn't mean it has to be the same story. So yeah, I appreciate that and respect that, and I'm glad that you shared with us the lesson that you learned early on to not listen to other people, because honestly, every book that I've written, except for two of them, are 115 to 140,000 words. So including my very first three books. So yeah, I mean, to me, the glory of being an indie author is you can do what the heck you want to do. For some reason, we got a restriction. I don't know if one of us said the M word and if or whatever, but I got a restriction so that it's going to stop sending the live out for other people to get in. I think those last 15 minutes or something. So we'll try to be careful of our vocabulary. We can't say smarter. We can't say a competitor's name, all these ridiculous rules. Speaking of ridiculous rules, this platform has a myriad of them. But yeah, I mean, I love that you're finding out early as you're just starting to write, do what you want, because that's the glory of being an indie author. One reason why I didn't want to even try to traditionally publish is because I didn't want to stay in one. I mean, I write multiple genres, and I know for a fact that when you have a hit in one genre, traditionally publishers want you to stay in that genre because you've proven that you can do that. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I love that. Are you ready to jump into these deep questions? You got
Oh,
your thinking
sure.
hat
Let's
on?
do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's go for it. The Reflex series began as a passion project in 2014. What was the original spark that refused to leave you alone, that made you have to write this book or these
Okay.
books now?
Okay. So I had an idea for these books.
Okay.
So in college, I minored in creative writing. It was sort of like my passion, but I knew that I wasn't going to pursue it. I mean, it was the late 80s, you had to have a job.
Yeah.
Um, and so I majored in finance, but I sort of always had that love for writing. Um, Eventually, I started a career, got married, had a child, and sometime around, I love to tell the story because it's not complimentary, but it truly, I think, proves that sometimes the motivation comes from somewhere where you would never believe. But my daughter got to be a teenager. And I don't know about you guys, but most girls who are teenagers, they simply hide. They don't really want to spend any time with their mom and dad. They hide in their rooms. You don't give them direct eye contact. It's just, I knew it going in, and so I ignored it. But I did do something that I hadn't done in a while. I started to read again. I mean, voraciously. I was reading probably a book every 2 days,
Oh,
and
wow.
loving it. And I was reading all the time. And on one particular day, I was on my iPad and I was cooking and reading. And
At the
my
same time?
husband's, yeah, same time,
That's
same
impressive.
time. Yeah, I can multitask. I think I was stirring like a huge pot of sauce, so it wasn't like I just had to stand there and stir. So I did that. And, later on, my husband said to me, your daughter and I are very concerned about the amount of reading you're doing. And I was like, excuse me? They're like, we think it's
Like
like
that's a
too
bad
much.
thing.
Yeah, it's too
Oh
much and
wow.
you're not paying enough attention to us.
Oh my
So it was like I had this sort of intervention where it
god.
was like, put down your iPad and pay attention to us. And I'm thinking, but I do. I was cooking. You weren't even, you would,
Yeah.
nobody was in my way. So I said,
Yeah.
fine, I'll stop reading as much. And they went to bed that night and I was so angry.
I would have
Um,
been too.
I was so angry that I got into my office and I sat down and I said, you know what? I'm not going to read anymore. I'm going to write.
Oh,
And I
good for
opened my
you.
computer and this story that had been in my head for years just started to come out. I
Yeah.
think by the time I went to bed that night, I had probably 10,000 words written.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, I was like, I was, I was committed. And then I just continued to write. And then when they would say, what are you doing? I would say, I'm writing. You didn't say anything about not writing. And then that was
You
it.
didn't establish the rules.
You didn't define the box and the rules. Yeah. So it's funny where your motivation can come. I mean, I joke about it now. It's a story. I obviously don't resent my husband and my daughter for it, but it's funny where the motivation can come. So I always tell
Yeah.
people, you know what? Sometimes something that makes you angry or mad or depressed, I mean, something can come of
Can be
that.
the best
Um,
motivation.
yeah, you can't look at the defeats in your life as mistakes. Sometimes they're learning moments and they're, like I said, motivational moments, really. So
Awesome.
after that, I just kept writing and writing. And the next thing you
I
knew, I
love
got the
it.
whole story out and it was 5 books. Of course, once I did that, I put it aside and didn't touch it again for about 10 years. But
Oh
then I
my.
did
Oh my.
decide. I
So
did
that was
decide to
about
do
10 years
something.
ago.
Yeah. By the time
So
I
what does
finished
your
the
daughter
fifth
think
book,
about your writing now? I'm
she's
curious.
actually very supportive now. She's my little
Good.
helper at book fairs. I always make sure
Oh,
she can come with me. Little helper. She's 27 now. So, but yeah, she's my helper. She'll if I need a little bit of like Gen Z ideas, like if I have a character and I'll be like, okay, how would they say this? So she's actually great about it. I'm sure
that's
she's
good.
watching this right now.
Oh, nice. What's her handle? Do you know? I guess you would
Uh, sh-
know.
I see it on there, Shelby. Shelby.
I'm not seeing that on mine. And for some reason, I have issues with this. I'm kind of looking forward to going to the other thing because on my live, sometimes for whatever reason, the comments don't show up. And I've had people say, I was in there and you didn't even comment on me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. First of all, it's hard to read those and talk to you and read
I
the
know.
questions and all that. But second of all, my comments have just never worked. My TikTok account, this TikTok account has never worked well. I'm actually really enjoying the new one. I might end up starting a new author one day. Who knows? But um, okay, great. I love that story, by the way, and the fact that your daughter had a part in that, even though it's a funny part coming around, kind of a roundabout way, it's still adorable. I love that. You spent nearly a decade bringing this story to life. What kept you coming back to it?
I think any author can say this when the characters start to live in your brain, like they become
Mm,
real people, like you
yeah.
care about them. Um, they mean so much to you. You're thinking about them all the time. I mean, after I had written the books, I thought, I think the first step was to let somebody read them. And when they did, they were like, hey, this is really good. What are you doing with this? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And they said, you have to do something with this. And I, like you, knew that I wasn't going to do the traditional publishing route. I didn't want to deal with queries. I didn't want to deal with any of that. So yeah, then I finally decided I needed to put it all together. And to be honest with you, only recently in the last 6 months, I can say that I have now learned how to format, put up, do things, all of that, all by myself. I mean, in the past, I've had to pay people to either set up a website or format the book for me. But now I'm like
Let
completely
me
autonomous.
Let me tell you something, and not trying to be bossy or anything, but just trying to help because I can already tell you and I think a lot alike because like the traditionally published thing, I'm like, I'm not going to wait for someone else to tell me my stuff's good enough to print.
Right.
I can make it professional and do that myself. But there are programs out there. I use Atticus. There are a couple of other ones too. So I would recommend maybe, research them. But most of the authors I know that I'm close to, we all use Atticus. You just upload your manuscript in there, and it does have some editing aspects of it too. It'll catch some things, but it kind of formats everything almost automatically. I used to format mine with Word before Atticus came around, and it would take me hours, if not days, to get it formatted, and it was just such a pain in the butt to me anyway. But with Atticus, you can get a one-time lifetime membership of it. I think it's $147 or something like that. I only know that because I just looked it up for another author I'm friends with. Her birthday's next week. She said, I'm going to ask my kids to get me this for my birthday. Because you literally just upload it to that. And Amy, who's in here, Amy, she just put Atticus is a literal sanity saver. And she actually writes straight into Atticus. Now, I don't do that because I'm old fashioned. I'm a lot older than her. And so I'm used to writing in Word, and I like that. And then I take it from Word. Oh, thank you. I take it from Word and put it into AutoCrit, which is the most tenacious, aggressive editing program out there, and it's phenomenal, and it will make your manuscript shine, but it will also make you cuss like a sailor while you're trying to fix it. Doesn't fix it for you. It tags what you need to fix and tells you why you need to fix it and all this stuff. But then I take it from AutoCrit back to Word and do the read aloud, and then once I'm happy with all of that, then I put it into Atticus. It formats it. Not only does it format it, but when you're done formatting it and you're ready to download it to whatever, you can download it to PDF, back to a Word document if you want to, and to an EPUB. So you can download it in that platform and upload it directly into KDP or Drafted Digital, or whoever it is that you're publishing with. So yeah, I mean, rude editing, yes. She's talking about AutoGrid, I guess. But yeah,
rude editing. I saw that.
oh, it will tell you the truth, man. You finish your manuscript, you're like, oh my baby, it's so beautiful, and then AutoCrit's like, that thing's ugly. We need to fix that thing. So, but it does it in a nice way. It's not rude. It's just very, very honest. But yeah, I would highly recommend, if you're going to continue writing, make your life a lot easier and just pick up a few programs. Autocus and AutoCrit are the two I would recommend. But again, research and see. She said it is rude. Research and see what you think would be the best for you, for your circumstance. And now to me, I'm not tech savvy. And that was one reason why I went with AutoCrit, because it was user friendly. I needed something user friendly. I didn't want to get a degree in some, I had bought Scrivener, is that how you say it? Many moons ago, a decade or two ago. I spent months trying to master that, and I finally was like, I just wasted my money. I never did use it again. It was just too hard for me. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. I just wanted to pitch that into you, because being a new author, if I had had someone tell me that, how many hours, days, weeks, months, like this bald spot I have in my head would not be there if I had known that. So I just always
it's a lot of work. People don't realize, it's a
so
lot of work.
I figured it out one day. It's literally 7 full-time jobs. Writing and editing and formatting and book design. Even if you have a designer, you have to work with the designer.
Oh yeah.
And then marketing. Let's not even get started on marketing.
Oh yeah, don't even. That's a whole. Oh God.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna jump back in here because I could go on and on about that. But was there ever a point when you seriously considered walking away from the series?
No, I love the series. There was never a point where I considered walking away from the series itself. What I think frustrates me, and you touched on it just a second ago, is the marketing. I think for me, it gets so frustrating that you think, do I need to do this? Do I need to really push out these books? Do I need to sell my soul to get these books looked at by people like that? It does get very disheartening. I think some people have a natural affiliation to content creating. Not me. I'm a content stalker. I'll stalk, but I don't want to create. So that's been very, very frustrating and difficult for me. And even though I'm an extrovert, people are like, well, you're an extrovert. That doesn't mean anything. Just because we're extroverts doesn't mean we know how to sell ourselves. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean, I didn't go into sales for a reason. I'm not comfortable in that position. And now suddenly I've been thrusted back into that position. So I think if anything brings me down, it's the marketing.
Yeah.
It's like trying to get out there like, hey, everybody, I think you'd really, really enjoy this book. Give it a shot. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Give it a shot. It's free. Try it.
Don't
But you're
say
like, how many
say
times can you?
KU. Next time you need to say that, say KU, because we keep getting these restrictions because TikTok's
Oh,
so funny. You can't use the competitor's name. You can't use words like schmurder and things that you can't talk about your books. Really, if you write in these kind of genres, it's really hard to talk about your book. I can't even read my blurb on here because there's words in there like schmurder that you have to, whatever.
okay. So KU. But yes, I mean, the book is out there for free with somebody who has a subscription to a certain, yes. But yeah, no, it gets frustrating. It does get very
Yeah,
frustrating. And that's where I start to think, do I
yeah,
want this? And then I keep thinking, but I love this story. I want to at least get this story out. Um, but like I said, I in the meantime, in between editing, because I'm still editing, I'm on book 3 edit. Um, Between editing, I'm sort of writing this other new standalone just to keep sharp and use my creativity because the editing and everything else is not creative. I feel like it's homework. I always call it
yeah,
homework.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
there's
what it
that point
is.
when you've written the last word on the manuscript when you're like, oh, great, now the work starts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
with
I
the
like the
marketing,
writing. I
I
love
agree
the
with you.
writing.
With Amy down below, you really need to get to know her. She's phenomenal. And she just kind of voluntarily created a video for me one time. And I'm like, it looked professional, like a freaking professional book trailer. And I inboxed her right away. I was like, how did you do that? She said, Canva. And I'm like, I use Canva all the time. I cannot create anything like that. So yeah, but she's got a knack for it. And Charmin, who will probably be joining us a little bit, she's out in California, so she didn't get in time to start. But yeah, they just both. Well, she's a graphic designer, so I get that. But Amy, to my knowledge, doesn't have that background. She just has that knack for it. She just picks it up like that, and
I know.
oh,
See, I struggle. I struggle. So, Amy, are you my new best friend? I'm waiting for her to like give me the thumbs up on the comments. Come on, be my best
she said
friend.
Charmin taught her. So
Sure. Okay.
Um, you described this series as genre bending. I love that phrase, by the way. Did you intentionally break the rules or did the story just simply demand it?
I think the story demanded it. I wasn't thinking about the rules. I truly, truly wasn't. It was a
I love
story that
that.
was in my head. It was one of those connect the dots moments where everything is in your head based on things that have either happened to me or people that I knew. Um, sometimes things as far back as college. Like I just had this story, and honestly, it all wraps around that one song, "The Reflex," by Duran Duran.
Oh, I
It was
didn't know
just,
that.
yeah. So the story is based on the Duran Duran song. It's not based on the song, except that the name is the song.
Inspired
So
by. Yeah, I
so
love that.
it's and when I was young, I used to love that song. I mean, like literally love that song. If I was in a club, I'd be up and dancing to that song. And then
I
it
can't
never
place it.
failed.
I
I'd
love
be,
Duran Duran, but I can't place the songs. Are you a singer? Can you sing a tune?
no,
Bring it.
you know the one that starts ta na na na, ta na na na, the reflex, the
But I also have
reflex.
the worst memory of literally anybody I know. I literally went to a neurosurgeon to see if I had early Alzheimer's. That's how bad my memory is. But
No, it's called menopause. Um,
okay. That
yeah,
that rings a bell. Okay.
that's called fog brain. We all have that. We
Oh
have
no,
that.
no, menopause. No, that was 20 years ago. I'm old, girl. I'm 62 and I had early
Oh, no, no,
menopause.
no. You and I are the same age. Oh, honey, we are the same age.
That's funny. That's
So
why we
yeah,
think
no,
alike because we're from the
yeah,
same generation.
which is technically we're boomers, but I always tell people I'm Gen X because I don't feel like a boomer.
And see, I don't. And we were just having this discussion with somebody the other day, and I said, everyone I know that's a boomer, and I know a lot of them, more of them than my own. I said, I just don't feel like I don't think like them. I don't act like them. I don't.
Yeah,
I feel more like a Gen Xer. So I
And
don't
we
know.
are cusps. We are on the cusp. So I like to say I'm a
Yeah.
Gen Xer
Yes, we're borderline. We're
because that's
borderline.
kind of where my mentality, my mindset is. Because you're right. I don't. I mean, I have many friends who are boomers too, and it's like
Mhm.
they're different.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like I'm a bit more that Gen X stereotype.
Yeah.
So yes, being a Gen X is
Yes, I agree about it wholeheartedly. And just the very fact that we're indie authors, I think maybe that keeps us more open-minded or younger or open to learning. I love learning. That's why I don't mind learning the stuff. So those are the
it's true.
traits, I guess, yeah, that make me feel like I'm more leaning more towards the younger generation than the older. But yeah, we all kind of borderline. So
Yeah,
um
so I'm going with I'm a Gen X. It'll make me sound younger anyway.
it's our little secret.
Shh, nobody knows.
Why do you think the publishing industry pushes authors to stay in one lane, and why are you unwilling to do that? I love this question.
Because it's arguably a quantifiable question. They stay in the lane because that's where the money is. Follow the money. It's a quantifiable question. The question I counter with is that even true? I mean, is that true? I mean, is there not a law? Okay, we're going to talk finance for a minute. Is there not a law of diminishing returns? Okay, I mean,
Mhm.
is there not a point where one publisher says, I'm pushing out 30 romanticises this month? But is there not a point where the general public says, you know what? I think I'm done reading romanticises. And I'm not picking on romanticises, I'm just using
Right.
it as
As an
an
example.
example. It's an example. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, who knows what's the next big thing? I mean, does
Yeah.
anybody really know what the next big thing is? And who's to say what we've written isn't that? I
Yeah.
mean, that's where I'm saying, like, sure, I understand publishing. It's any other big corporate machine.
Exactly.
It's about the money. I get it. I have no argument with it. I mean, our entire country runs on it. I'm
Yeah.
not going to buck the
Whole
system,
world,
but that
actually.
doesn't mean, yeah, it doesn't mean that I'm going to prevent the system
Right.
from having me produce what I want to produce.
I love that.
But no, I understand. I mean, go with the money. I get it.
But here's the thing, I agree with what you said, and I don't know if you've heard this or not. It's a true story. Stephen King, who's he wrote horror, so they you have to write horror, and that's all he's known for. But he decided, I'm gonna guess and say it's been 10 years ago or so now. He decided he wanted to just see could he write in a different genre and not put his name on it, so it's automatic sell, off the shelf. And could he? And it can't. I don't remember if he any published or if he published through a different publishing company. I don't remember how he did it, but he published a different genre book in a different pen name, and it was like it did really well, and it was out for like a year or so before somehow it came out that that was a Stephen King book. And so, and yeah, and it still did really well. So I agree. I mean, if you're a good writer, I mean, if you have a passion for one and that's all you want to write is horror or whatever, then yeah, stick into that lane if you choose that. But if you don't choose that, my books are every book I've had is based on a dream I had. Well, I don't dream in one genre, so I don't write in one genre. And to date I've written in like four genres. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100%. You and I need to be new BFFs because we
Yeah, I
we
think so.
Where do you
I
live, by
think
the way?
so. I live in Las Vegas.
Oh wow. Well, you're out in California too then. Charmin, well, not California, but out the way. Charmin, who will
Yeah,
probably be joining us soon, she's in California, so she's 3 hours behind us, I think.
yeah,
And
it's almost happy hour here.
wow, and see, it's 7:30 here, so um, well, that might put a damper on our getting together for happy hour, but
I'm always
um,
available. Always available.
we'll do it virtually. Your book blends mystery, suspense, romance, espionage, humor, and supernatural elements. Which of those came first?
In the thought process,
Yeah, like when the idea was coming to you, what did it evolve around?
I would say the mystery suspense came first. I
Okay.
mean, I love a book I can't guess. I love a show on TV that I can't guess. And that is rare for me. I mean, it is rare to start watching something and say, I know who did it. I know, because I
Exactly.
do. I always know. And in the book, I know what's going to happen. I know it's so and so. I really, really love it when something surprises me. I want to
Yeah.
be surprised. I want to be like, oh no, that did
You see
not
that
just
coming?
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
like
did
it.
not see that coming. So yeah, I really wanted to write something like that, something that I would enjoy to read. I mean, it was just really about what do I want to read? It was a very selfish, this is what I would want to read. And that's what I did. So I guess the mystery suspense, because I really wanted it to have a lot of twists and turns.
I love
The
that.
romance part I put in because I wanted that in there. I knew, although I basically knew that that was going to be in there. The humor, I'm that's a lot of me in there. I believe humor and laughter is a balm to life. I think it never really matters what's happening. If you can take a kind of laughable approach,
Mm-hmm.
especially to the small issues in your life, I mean,
Yeah.
just look at it and laugh. I mean, sometimes I just think if you could just laugh and smile and find the trivial part of something, it just helps.
Yeah.
I mean, any therapist will tell you that humor is a shield and is not healthy. I don't agree with any of that.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah, I
I mean, the
mean, they
Bible says
say,
laughter is the best medicine. I agree with that.
yeah,
If you can't
no,
laugh at
therapists.
yourself, I mean, it's either laugh or cry,
Exactly. If you can't be self-deprecating, if you can't laugh at
Exactly.
yourself, you're taking life way too seriously.
Way too seriously.
Um,
Yes.
so yeah, the humor was just going to naturally come, I think anyway, because I think I'm hilarious personally. But so I was like, I was putting some humor in there because I like to kind of balance a very stressful, emotional
Yeah.
situation with a little bit of humor
Absolutely.
after.
Yeah. That comedic relief can help traumatic circumstances within there. So
Exactly.
not too bogged down, you know. You have a
Exactly.
reader reading it like this, then they have to take a break. And you don't want them to take a break. You want them to want to keep reading. So I love that.
Right.
I
That
love
little comic relief where that, you get that to let go of all that emotion and go, ha ha ha. I mean, I love that. I love it when I read stuff like that. I love it if I'm watching something like that on TV. So yeah, that was in there as well.
Good. I love that. You have the best answers. I'm loving this. Your character, Kara, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Kara. Yeah.
Kara, okay. Kara appears to have the perfect suburban life, but beneath the surface, she's carrying enormous secrets. What fascinated you about that contrast?
I think what I'm trying to do with this book is say sometimes when you pass somebody at the grocery store or you see your neighbor outside or you're checking out at a store, there's something behind that facade to everyone. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think we make so many assumptions when we look at people. And I hate to broaden this and not make this just about my character, but I'm trying to give you more where did the inspiration for these people come from?
Exactly.
I think for me, Cara was that person, that one, you know, suburban mom that people see that's running her kids around, that's getting flustered with their schedule, getting flustered with trying to work and take care of them and get dinner on the table. But behind all of that, there's a very, very complex person. There's a person with a past. There's a person who has been through things that most people will never know. And I think that that person is a lot of people. I
Yeah.
think we're all a lot more deep than we give ourselves credit for or than we give other people credit for.
Yeah.
um I don't think people are as esoteric as they want to believe or as we want to believe. I always
Exactly.
say I don't judge anyone. I mean, I
That's
think that
good.
there's depth to just about everyone.
Yeah.
You if they don't want to show it, that's fine. If they want to share it, great. I'm here to listen. So I guess Kara for me is she's indicative of that idea that we all have some real depth to us.
Yeah.
And that for her, she's just hidden it well.
Yeah. And I love the way you put that. And book 4 in the Last Safe House series talks a lot about the masks we wear, and the way people perceive us, and the way we even encourage people to perceive us because that's our persona or whatever. But then when that mask comes down, do we even really know who we are? In book 4, The Last Defense in the Last Safe House series, deals with that a lot and talks about that a lot. Because I like to talk about, life stuff like that, and the characters going through things, helping us going through our things, as we go through it with the character and us dealing with our own demons, as we say. So, just the fact, I don't know, that we're talking about this, I think is healthy because so many people out there, and social media is the worst. They might
Yeah.
look at you or me right now and hop on here. They don't know it's from Adam's House Cat and say, "Oh, they've got it made. There's two older ladies. They don't have to worry about anything. Their kids are grown and they're sitting back writing all day and their life's wonderful." And they have no clue. We're pulling our hair out trying to figure our life out still at 62. So, yeah, I think I have always been a very transparent person. I don't try to act like my life's wonderful. It's never been wonderful. And so I put a lot of that angst in my characters. That, yeah, from the outside looking in, things might look one way. But when you assume that and you don't actually get to know the person and allow them to be who they are without judging them, and you just hit on a perfect point when you said that. Because we all have, our insecurities or sins or whatever you want to call it that keeps us from feeling whole. And we have to heal that inner child to become as whole as we can be. Why are readers so drawn to stories built around secrets and hidden identities? This ties right in with what we were just
This
talking about.
ties right in. There's a quote. I have it in front of me somewhere. In the second book, the guys that are all part of this gang of people with my protagonist are trying to get her to understand that she left a legacy at Langley at the CIA when she was there. And she refuses to entertain this thought. And finally, her husband pulls her away and says to her, I don't understand why you don't, you don't get this." And she said, "I understand the legacy. I just don't accept it." And to me, that's that quote again. The idea that just because somebody has projected onto you a particular trait, a particular anything, it doesn't mean that you have to accept it. I
Right.
mean, and I think that's one of the things that we learn, especially as women, as we get older. And that is something that really happens, I think, a lot when your children get a little bit older and you've been a mom and you're kind of like not running around making sure that they stay out of traffic anymore, but you can actually sit back and think. You start to think like, people perceive me this way, but that isn't who I am. I don't need to accept that about myself. um, I'm not saying that you need to change your perception of me. I'm just saying that I need to rectify who I really am.
Right.
So I think in this book, all of the characters kind of go through this metamorphosis where they need to start really thinking about who they are behind who they were told to be, who they were, perceived to be. And,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a big thing in the book. And I think that's why people love The Secrets and Lies, because that's really where it comes from. The idea that we keep these things about ourselves, secrets and lives. Again, it makes it very relatable,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Perfect answer. I mean, I can tell you're an educated, brilliant woman, and your answers are just spot on. I love that. I can talk to you all day long. Like, we might run all over unless you have something. Do you have
No, I'm
something we can
good.
talk about? Okay,
No,
good.
I'm good.
Because we're going to run a little bit over, and I'm not going to keep you 2 hours or anything. But do you believe that most people have versions of themselves they never reveal to others?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 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 I think it's less and less. I think that's what age does. Again, I don't want to harp on this, but I think as women, there are so many preconceived notions
For
that,
sure.
especially at our age. Now, do I think this younger generation, do I think my daughter has the same issues I do? No. I think their issues are different. I think they have them, but they're different. But I think for our generation, I think there were so many preconceived notions. So you have to, I think, learn and find, as you called it, your inner child. You have to find your authentic self. And so I think that is important. And I think that happens again a little bit later in life. I mean, you're not reaching self-actualization at 21 years old. No one does that. No one expects you to do that. So I guess that's why I enjoy having older protagonists, because I think again it makes it more relatable and believable. Because yes, it's believable that somebody in their late 30s or in their 40s is going to have a moment of actualization, and they're going to say to themselves, wow, I'm not this person, I'm actually this person, or I don't really like this. I want it, but I don't need it. All of those things I think happen as we get older. And I think as an older author, I think we're able to write about it with a little bit more expertise.
I totally agree. And that was, I mean, I literally kind of intentionally made my target audience, even though a lot of my protagonists are young, but they go through horrific things that kind of make them grow up or make them have to self-actualize earlier than they would have normally. And I don't know, since you have a daughter that's 26, my daughter's 39, but it seems to me like the younger generation, they're more transparent and they're more like, this is who I am, deal with it, than our generation. I mean, I don't know about your parents. My parents taught me, be quiet, look pretty, find a man to take care of you, conform, don't rock the boat. And so that's what I grew up with. It took me, and I was a rebellious kid, so it's not like I was one that did naturally conform. But it literally took me till I was in my 40s to start saying, screw that, I've got to figure out who I am. And it was through horrific circumstances is why I finally came to that. And that's why authors like you and authors like me, I think we do kind of tap into that. The protagonist needs to begin to know herself and grow through the story. And I think as we read those stories, then we're also helping our readers to come to that realization too. Maybe they haven't had something horrific happen to them that forced them to have to do that. So maybe reading a story where something happened terrible to your protagonist might help them to make some changes, or not changes so much, but just decisions about themselves to where they get to know themselves better. Did I say that right? I mean, you're saying things so much better than I am. I need to just hush and let you talk. Cara and Nick both have hidden past. How much can a relationship survive when built on omissions and secrets?
That's the whole thing we're exploring here. I mean, can it survive? Can you hide a big part of yourself from your spouse and have that be forced to come to light? And what do you do? How are you going to rectify that? I mean, I think, I call it the mystery and suspense, but this romantic part of it, their relationship is very important to me in the sense that it's taking a 16 or 17-year relationship and saying, okay, we need to stop and reevaluate what's happened here. They both have withheld some truths, but I use this word, truth. What is the truth? These books explore the concept of what is the truth. If I neglected to tell you something that I did 20 years ago, is that my truth? Or is that just something I did?
Right.
Does it change who I am to you? And then the whole concept of truth in general. I mean, is my truth the same as your truth? I mean, we use this word like it's the truth.
Right.
Whose truth?
Yeah.
Your truth.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, it's a perspective. I mean, everyone is allowed their truth. And I think these books sort of explore that, and the idea that you didn't tell me the truth, but what does that really mean? What does that mean? You didn't tell me an event that happened, but you're still the same person you were yesterday, even though I found something new about you today. So I think it's a whole exploration of the idea of truth.
I can't wait to read these. I actually have a couple I'm reading in my TBR right now I'm an ARC reader for two different authors. So I've got to read them first, but the minute I finish reading the second one, I'm reading your books next. These sound amazing. I know I'm going to love them. Reed and Cora have a particularly unusual relationship. What made that dynamic so compelling to explore? This is the love triangle, I guess, that we're talking about.
It's a bizarre love triangle. So Reed and Kara are like these best friends
Okay.
that met when they were very young, and have maintained this best friend relationship, even though they've never dated. Um, but they have a very tactile relationship, and her husband has never been um, accepting of it, and nor should he have. Um, that is a plot point, I'm going to say, because without, I can't really get into too much about their relationship. But what I do tell people who say I was very uncomfortable with their relationship, I always say to them, like when readers ask me, I say, yeah, so am I. Yeah, no, I'm totally uncomfortable with their relationship. No, I do not accept their relationship at all. No, I do not have a man friend who I am best friends with, and I think that that is okay. um, no, I am not. I'm not accepting of any of this. This is just, it's fiction, and it is
Sure.
a huge plot point. But yes, they are very, very, very close. And she even says in the first book at one point, that her husband is her world, but that Reed is her life. That she could never live her life without him in it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, yeah, wow, weird. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
okay. I always tell readers, it's okay. It's okay to be weirded out by it. I'm weirded out by it. I mean, by no means am I condoning or not condoning. I'm just telling you it's okay how you feel. Have your feelings about them. They are weird.
That reminds me,
But
one of the books I'm reading right now, well, I just read the first one. I'm about to read the second one, is Dying to Date. Have you ever read that? Charmin wrote it. The protagonist in
no.
there has a male best friend. Matter of fact, when he gets married, she's like not the best man, but bridesmaid, whatever. And I thought, wow, her husband and his wife would have to be really understanding about that. I don't know anyone in real life that can handle that. So it just reminded me of that. If you haven't read Dying to Date, read it. Charmin, the second one, Dying to Marry, comes out July 1st, I think. So check hers out too. The love triangle in this series feels more emotionally complex than most or many romance novels. What interested you about exploring those gray areas?
Um, you might have stumped me on this one. It's hard to talk about
Oh,
this
good.
without
I like this stuff.
spoilers. It's hard to talk about this without spoilers. Um,
And you don't, and if you can't without spoiling it, you don't have to. You don't feel like you have to.
yeah, it's not that I can't talk. I mean, it's more like I won't. No, I would say, let me think about this. I know I really should have like a set response for this. I would say because both I mean, the protagonist Kara has a very, very, very intimate relationship with her husband. There is no qualms about that. But she also has this very, very, very intimate relationship with somebody she has known for 25 years, since she was a 20-year-old college student, and they met. Um, and she does, and okay, I now know how I can lead this into an explanation. We talked
Okay.
about truth. The other thing that this book, thematically, these books are about is faith. Now, I'm not talking faith in a religious sense. I'm talking
Uh-huh.
faith in the kind of trust we have with each other and in ourselves. So we're
Okay.
talking faith in a broad sense. And Kara and Reed have true faith with each other. They have complete trust in each other. And I think that idea, to explore the idea that he happens to be a man versus, let's say, you and your best friend, like, we always make jokes about, I'm going to make this joke and they're going to give you a warning, but you know how you have a best friend that'll help you bury a body, like that.
Yeah.
That kind of relationship, um that kind of relationship that you have with your best friend is the kind of relationship she has, but with a man. And that true faith that she has and trust that she has in him, I really wanted to explore that, um, because you don't see that often. Like I said, it is usually you'd hardly see it at all. I mean, I have that kind of relationship with my girlfriends, but I don't have that kind of relationship
Yeah.
with a man. I'm not even sure I have that kind of relationship with my husband. I
Yeah.
mean, there are
Well, it'd be
things you tell
rare
your
if you
girlfriend.
did. I mean, the divorce rate wouldn't
Yeah,
be so high if most people did have that with their husband. So,
it's true, but we don't. We don't.
right,
I mean, we tell things to our girlfriends that we would never tell our husband.
exactly.
Um, God, I hate to admit that, but it's true. And I think all the women out there be going, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's true. So to explore the idea that you have this kind of relationship with a man, a heterosexual man. I mean, it's not like they can't be a couple, and yet they've never
Right.
been a couple. I just thought it would be really intriguing. How's that for an answer?
I can't wait to read this. Which character do readers misunderstand the most?
I would say, I would say it depends on where you are in the books. But I think, honestly, I think in the first book, I would say it's Reader Kara. I mean, definitely Reader Kara. I think people get a very clear idea by the end of the book of who Nick really is, her husband. But I think really through all the books, I think you love Kara, or you hate her, or you're somewhere in between. Like she's not always the likable protagonist. I
Okay.
think there are times where you're like, okay, that's a little harsh, or mm, maybe she could have been a bit empathetic, or maybe she's being a little strong here.
And she's very
She
human.
Yeah, she's being very human. So I think sometimes she's misunderstood. Um, but I think Reed, especially, because of his relationship and because I think a lot of people are kind of weirded out. I'm sorry, I'm just having to adjust you here. Sometimes people are a bit weirded out by their relationship that he's misunderstood, that he's not given the credit he deserves for what he's done for her as her best friend, how he's helped her, how he's been there for her. um, Had he been a woman, I think everyone would have been fine. And instead, a lot of times I'll get people say, he's not my favorite character, or I don't really like him, even though he doesn't do anything wrong. But I think it's because of the position I placed him in.
Yeah. And for some reason, we feel like we have to choose sides. So it's like Team Edward or Team Jacob. You
Yeah,
can't like
yeah,
both. You have to choose. So, and so I can totally get that they would probably, especially married women, would lean in the direction of choosing her husband just because that's the right thing to do. So I get that. I love that. I can't wait to read this book. I wish I'd had time to read it before tonight. I feel like I would have even more questions for you. When you have to do research for the book? I'm assuming you
oh
did.
my God, a tremendous amount of research, a tremendous amount of research.
What's like the
Yes.
craziest thing that you had to Google?
Oh, okay, I'll give you, again, we're probably going to get, okay, so I at one point needed to look up Russian terms of endearment. And so I was, like, how do you say sweetheart or
Right.
beautiful, or, and how do you do it phonetically? Because obviously I'm not going to be putting it out in Cyrillic, So I was looking it up and I found a site that said, here's how to talk to your new Russian bride. And
Oh,
I'm like,
perfect.
everything I wanted was on this site. And I'm like, I cannot believe that this is the site that I found this on. And then I was trying to make sure that I deleted my clear my history, delete it. But to
Clear
this
cache.
day, I tell people I still get emails about
Ah,
acquiring a bride. And I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. But it was everything I need. But
I
no, I
know.
mean, I've had to like research, the entrance and exit wounds of 9 millimeter parabellum cartridges. Yeah, like I've really, I used to always think the FBI was going to end up at my door. I have really
Yeah,
looked up a lot of very strange things.
yeah.
But I'm one of these people, again, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I am one of these readers that is well traveled. So what bothers me a lot is when somebody is talking about an area and it's not authentic. Like to
Right.
me, it has to be absolutely positively authentic. If you've never been there, I know everyone's going to jump down my throat. You shouldn't write about it. I mean, don't wrap a story around New Orleans if you've never even stepped foot in New Orleans. I mean, like, I feel like it's going to show but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe with enough research, and maybe if you're not, if it's just background noise and the story has nothing to do with, let's say, New Orleans, it's fine. But I personally feel like I need to be there, So for me, everywhere in the book, everywhere they go, I've been. Like I
Oh,
literally
wow.
walked their steps to make sure
Wow.
that I felt authentic in this. Um, and yes, I had the liberty of doing that. Yes, I had the chance to do that. So, I mean, I don't want to degrade anyone who doesn't have the money to go to Berlin and walk the steps of Germany. So I get that. But I'm also older and established in my career, and I've had a good day job. So, that was important to me, and it's still important to me. That it is very authentic. So that goes with the research as well. Like I truly won't write about somewhere I've never been.
Well, you probably picked up on a lot of things that were inauthentic then in the last safe house because I've never been, well, I've been outside of Georgia, but I've not been outside the United States. And she went to Paris and Mexico City and everything. But I mean, I do a lot of research too. And I have previous books that have been to Africa. And the book I'm writing now, it's in Croatia. I live vicariously through my characters, so I do an extensive amount of research. But I agree with you what you're saying. Sometimes if you're walking and you're doing, you're seeing and you're observing, you can write about it better than you could by just looking at research and looking at pictures or picking up a few
Right.
words or
I think
something.
it's the vibe. What you get when you're there is the vibe, and it changes
Yeah,
how you write the scene.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
totally can see that.
like for instance, I've been to Croatia. So if when
Um,
you're ready, call me and we will talk about it, and I will tell
the
you what
book
it's like
book
there.
5 is in Croatia, so you might
There
hate
you
it
go.
if it's not authentic.
I have been to Croatia. Yeah, I think it's about the vibe. But again, I have the luxury of being able to do
Yeah.
it.
And what a great
So,
privilege that you've had to be able to do that because I've
and I
always
love to
wanted to
travel.
travel. I've been to Canada, and I've been to lots of places in the United States, but outside of United States, Canada is it. But
No,
I
I hate
jealous
to say
now.
it, well traveled. No, I am well traveled. I've been to probably over 44 countries. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, but I love to travel. So, I may not always have the money for it, but I love to travel and I always make room for it.
That's incredible.
I love being immersed. I call it immersion when you, let's say, go to, well, for Croatia, for example, you go there and you just immerse yourself into the culture. Like to me, it's not about seeing every church or every historical site. To me, it's
Right.
about sitting in a square or piazza or whatever you want to call it in that language and just watching the people, watching
Yeah.
the interaction, immersing yourself into their culture, talking to locals. I love doing that. I love finding out what their favorite things to do are. What do they do in their downtime? It's just, to me,
Yeah.
that's the whole point. And I think for me to use those places in my books becomes it's a whole different research for me because it's like, I feel like been there, spoke to them, and I know them now, I know what they do. I feel them. I immersed myself. So yeah,
Obviously, we would all love as writers to do that. And if we went for research, I guess it would be a tax write-off. But
this is
um,
true. No, it is. This is true.
yeah, for
Remember, it's a
me,
tax write-off.
when I needed to know what do people in Croatia do, and I would ask ChatGPT, what do people in Croatia do at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? And it's actually pretty, I mean, pretty detailed, but maybe I didn't get it too far off. We'll see. You let me know. um, I think it kind of, this is a different way to ask what I just asked. So I'm going to skip that because we're already running a little bit over. Um, did you discover anything during your research that felt stranger than fiction?
Um, yeah, yeah, I did. I had to do a lot of scientific research, and so the book is essentially it gets a little scientific, preternatural. I don't like to say supernatural, but there is an element of gifts and talents, and as part of that. I did a lot of research into collective consciousness, the idea that we are all one with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I keep it very scientific. Um, I actually believe that it is true that we are all somehow connected, however you want to describe it, depending on your faith. I believe that we are, as a humanity, all connected. But one of the really weird things that I discovered was that in 1998, there was a project called the Global Consciousness Project, where they put out these random number generators all over the world. And these number generators were basically to catch consciousness or emotions or empathy.
Hmm.
And this project got a huge spike in recognition when in 2001, when on 9/11 in 2001, all of these random generators went crazy because the worldwide emotion over the 9/11 attacks. So,
Wow.
and of course, people come out and debunk this stuff, and it was this, it was that, it was the other. But when I was reading about it, I was fascinated. Like I didn't even know these things existed. Um, so yeah, I mean, sometimes the research, you end up in a rabbit hole of like,
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
That's cool. It's funny that you just were talking about the collective consciousness because my next question is the collective consciousness element introduces fascinating questions. What first sparked your interest in that concept? Was it your research that you were just talking about, or did you already have an interest in
No,
it?
think I think it was a little bit. I think a study of Eastern cultures, visiting different cultures, uh, Eastern religions. I think, when you start to learn more and more about people in different countries and what they believe or what they find important, you start to realize that there are the same core things there. Um, it's all the same, you know. Um, what they believe may have a different name. Some of the prayers are different or this is different, but it's all the same. So what makes it common? What makes it all common? And the idea of the collective consciousness, which is sort of in some of the Eastern religions. um, but it's also very prevalent now when people talk about manifesting your destiny and reaching out into the safe space, into the ether. um, I kind of believe that that's true. I mean, and I don't think it matters whether you call it prayer. I don't think it matters whether you call it anything. I think it's a very personal thing. And I think everyone should try to find that collective consciousness, should try to find that actualization that really is, it's just really finding your own soul. It's saying, what's in my soul?
I like that. You were talking earlier about you didn't really want to call it supernatural, but there's an element of that in the book. How do you balance realism with the supernatural?
For me, it was the science behind it. It's basically saying, here's the science on how this can happen. I mean, to this day, we've got particle accelerators at CERN in Europe. We've got all this, science happening to really kind of explain our world. It's all theoretical math at this point. It's a lot of guessing. It's a lot of, the concept of quantum mechanics, the next new concept of quantum computing. A lot of this is just a lot of theory. And at some point, are we actually going to get something, and so I think this was the chance to say, okay, let's play with that a little bit. Let's take all these theories and say suddenly we have a little bit of a breakthrough. Um, it's not a breakthrough that's going to be public, but it's a breakthrough with themselves. So for me, that supernatural is really based in science. And the idea that could it happen? Yeah, maybe. So I
I mean,
didn't
look
want
how
it to
far
be a
we've come in the last
magic.
100 years. Who knows what 100 years from now are going to be like?
Well, I
It's
mean, who would have thought
scary.
we could have done this with each
Exactly.
other on a
I'm
phone
saying
50
100
years
years
ago?
ago. We
Yeah.
didn't, well, I don't know what we had 100 years ago, but we've come a long way. And so, the fact that things are growing so quickly now, 100 years from now, it's mind boggling. Like, I don't even think we could imagine what it's going to be like.
Yeah,
Um,
even 50 years from now. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like, we
yeah,
really
maybe
don't know. So
20. Who knows?
I
Yeah,
know,
we
I
got a lot
know.
of time. Was there a scene that emotionally wrecked you while you were writing it?
There is a scene at the end of the book with Cara and Reed. I think for me, that scene kind of wrecked me. Um, Again, it's at the end of book one, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to say
Right.
that I really wanted it. I needed the emotions to be in there. I needed her emotions clearly. I needed his emotions clearly. And it is ironic that the scene is really the two of them. But it is the two of them. And I to this day, like if I go back and I read it, I get a little bit choked up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that one wrecked me. And there's always one in every book. The
Yeah.
next book, it's a mission scene at the at a White House dinner. But there's always one scene in every book for me that's like a top one.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. And I meant to ask this earlier. Do your books have a good conclusion or happily ever after or whatever, or is the series continuous where you have to read the second book because you're not going to rest easy
Yeah,
till
no,
the
it's not, they're not standalones. I mean, so basically, I call them my gang of misfits. I introduce a bunch of characters in the first book. Those characters will grow. Um, their gifts will grow. We'll learn more about their vulnerabilities. We'll explore those vulnerabilities, all while the plot grows thicker and thicker and thicker. And then we'll even introduce some new characters along the way. So by the end of the fifth book, it's a cast of characters, and some people will have side subplots. Some people will get their side stories, and there will be some happily ever afters. But yeah, I like a good happily ever after.
so we're
I'm
not going to be throwing the book across the room when we finish it.
well, you may after one
Uh-oh.
book when I leave you on a cliffhanger, but
You
no,
just
at the
ruined it for me.
end, no, you won't throw it across the room. I'm all about a happy ending. I mean at least a reasonable ending. I'm always about a
Okay.
reasonable. I don't
Well,
know.
that's
Yeah, you want a reasonable
good.
ending.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's some of my books. I wouldn't call them happy endings, but it's a conclusion that satisfies you. So you're not gonna
Exactly.
go to bed thinking, "Dad, give what happened next?" And now the next book doesn't come out for 6 months, and I've got to wait. That's frustrating for me. Were there moments when the characters completely changed your plans for the story?
Yes. Yes. I always talk about Sasha. I'm going to just say the name Sasha. So Sasha started off in my outline as supporting a supporting cast member, and let's call him supporting. And Sasha just demanded to have a more starring role. I mean, in my head as I was writing, Sasha was like, "Yep, I'm gonna be big. I'm gonna be big. You
Keep talking.
need
I gotta
me."
let my cat out of my office. Hold on. But keep talking.
No, I was gonna say he wanted to be much bigger than I had intended. So he gets a much bigger role. He's a very demanding character in my head.
Okay.
Ugh.
Um, So
It is happy
Sasha
hour.
is you said Sasha's a man?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
but that's
okay.
part of
So I would have thought that was a woman's
that's
name.
part of the mystery though. So I sort of just
Hmm.
ruined that. But it's okay. You find out by chapter 4.
All right, I'll be patient. You completed all 5 books before publication. How did that affect your storytelling decisions?
I I think it's almost better. I hate to say that. It's almost better in terms of the authenticity of the story you want to write. Because I think if you're writing, it's like baking a cake in slices. If you're saying I've got this 5 book series, but I've got the first one done. I haven't written the second one, and you shoot the first one off, and you get some feedback. Oh, I don't like this character, or I don't like that. Does it then affect how you write the second book? From a marketability perspective, it should absolutely, because maybe you're like, my readers didn't like this. But from an authenticity standpoint, that wasn't the direction you were going in. Here we go back to quantifiable ideas. versus quality ideas. So I enjoyed the idea that I was authentic to the story. If it's written, it's done. I'm not making anything but edit changes at this point. If a reader comes to me and says, I don't like this, or if somebody in Trad Publishing came to me and said, you need to get rid of this character or you need to do that, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I love this story. It means a lot to me. It's not to say, like I said, in the future, I wouldn't just write, if I was writing a duology, that I wouldn't write and publish the first book, see how it does, and maybe change the second book based on that. I know a lot of authors do that, but I think it's interesting that I didn't. I mean, it was all written and done, and I really haven't developmentally changed the storyline. I've only just
I
edited it.
can't even imagine. Like, I have several characters that I've had people write me and cuss me out about. I hate this guy. Why did you make him so horrible? And I'm like, that's fiction and reading in general, but it's supposed to make you feel. And sometimes you might feel angry, and sometimes you might be wrecked and cry, and sometimes you might be joyful. But I would never, ever change one of my stories because of feedback or a review or, anything. I mean, an editor that's doing developmental editing, something like that, that's a completely different thing. But I wouldn't change that, but that's just me. There are people who I've actually heard of writers who say, what's selling right now? What's the next big thing? That's what I'll write next. I can't write that way. I have to write from my
Yeah.
heart and from my soul. And when I write from my heart and my soul and it's written, then you either like it or don't like it. I'm sorry. And if you don't like it, I apologize, that you don't like it. But there are literally a billion other writers out there. You might find one you like.
Exactly. Different strokes for different folks.
Exactly. I love that. Did knowing the ending, though, change how you approach the beginning?
I think that's what makes, yeah, I mean, it does and it doesn't. I mean, I had the whole idea in my head. Again, I'm not baking the cake in slices. Um, I had the whole cake. No, I'm just dividing it. I think if you don't have the whole idea for the series in your head, I don't know how anyone approaches having each book and each subplot connect and wrap around and do the 360 of what you might have read in book one suddenly makes sense in book four. Like I love that go around, that 360 degree of like, oh, I mean, if you're paying attention, there was a mention of this, or this was discussed in book one or book two, and now suddenly it's making a whole lot of sense in book four. So I think if you have the whole thing in your head, again, it almost writes itself. And that's where I'm saying it becomes this sort of authentic piece of fiction for me as the writer, because it's like it wrote itself, because I always knew where I needed to end up. I always had the middle and the end and everything in between. I didn't have it like on an outline, there wasn't a Venn diagram of it, but it was in my head. And
Right.
so it did make it very easy to write. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was written pretty quickly. I mean, quicker
So
than
it
most
sounds
people
like
probably
in
write.
your Yeah, it sounds like in your mind, the whole 5 books is really one story that you
It
just
is
wrote
one
in
story.
5 segments.
Yeah, it is one story. I mean, it's one story that just continues. It just took 5 books to get it out.
Okay.
Um,
And
but
I
it
think
is.
that's,
And yeah, I was going
that's
to
a
say it's
little
very
different to
linear as
me
well.
too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say it's very linear as well. Like all 5 books take place over the course of 3 months, so
Oh,
it's
wow.
not like 5 books over, I mean, the books themselves the timeline of the action is 3 months. So it's a very linear 5 books in terms of timing. Like we're not going to be like, it's 6 years later. No,
Right.
I mean, where you leave off on one book, you pick up in the next.
I think that that's a big differentiation to me because my first series I wrote is one girl's story from when she left an abusive relationship, and it does go through years, but it's her story, and there are other people in it and subplots and stuff, but it's her story, and I had no clue. It was based on a dream I had. The first book was. The other two books, came later. But with the Last Safe House, each book, I mean, it could be a standalone, but you read the other characters, you see the other characters. Krista and Oliver are in the next book, and in the next book, and they're in the last book. So, but they're different stories. There's different character emphasis and different settings. Different safe house in this case. So they're interconnected, but they're not one story, if that makes sense. You see
No,
how the people
yeah,
progress, but
they're in the same world. I always
they're in the
like to
same
say
world.
they're in the
Yeah.
same
Real
world.
clear. Yeah, that's a
They're
good way.
all in the same world, but with separate stories. See, my books are not, they're really just
One story.
linear. I mean,
So
it's the
that's
same
more
story
like
that
my first
continues.
series then. Yeah. And it's funny because we were talking about happily ever afters. When I wrote the first story, it was not a romance. My very, very first story, The Tapestry of A. Taylor, it was not a romance at all. It was literally this young woman's story and the horrific things that she went through. And but I came full circle. She left this place where she was abused, and then she ended up at the end of the story having to go back there, but as a completely different person, a different woman. And she was happy with her life, and she had figured things out. Spoiler alert. And so, to me, it was full circle. And you assume from that point, okay, she's got it figured out now. She's going to make better decisions. She's moved on. I had an outcry. People say, "Oh, you left it on a cliffhanger," and I'm like, did I? I mean,
Did I? Yeah.
did I? I don't think so. And it was already like 120,000 words. So I'm like, I can't add another 120,000 words to this book, So that's why I wrote the second book. I didn't intend to write a second book when I wrote that. But I did that because of the outcry of people saying, please tell us what happened to her, And I'm like,
But I
okay,
think that's a wonderful outcry. I wish somebody would do that for me. Say, write more. I
well,
want to know more.
by outcry, it was like a dozen people. Okay. We're not
Okay.
talking about
I'll take
hundreds.
a dozen. I'll take a dozen. I'll take your dozen. I will. I will at this point.
You're sweet. What surprises you the most about being a published author or an indie author? A published indie author. We'll just put it that way.
Nothing. I guess
Oh,
the
really?
biggest surprise is that it's no big deal. I mean, I guess I don't think of it as a big deal. I think of it as like I
Really?
worked hard, I wrote a story, I did a lot of work, I got it published. Now I have to try to sell it. Like I guess there's no notoriety in it. It's just hard work. I mean, it's a job. I mean, like I think sometimes people be like, "You're a writer," and it's like I'm like, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I've sold thousands and thousands of books and I got to that point, I would feel differently. But at this point, I just feel like it's a job that I love, and that's it. I don't know if notoriety comes later or you feel differently later. Like, I don't know. How do you feel? Like, do you feel like, do you tell people like I'm a writer?
Oh, this is what I do full time. So yes, I do. And there are some people who are like, oh, okay, whatever. And then there are other people like, oh my God, you're a writer. I think it grows from their own perception because people maybe that have always wanted to write a book or think writers are cool or whatever, they have this perception of what writers are or how we live. We just sit around drinking martinis all day and they might be a little bit, oh, that's so cool. And then I have other people who probably don't read and could care less about it. They're like, okay, whatever. So I think, about the time you start thinking, oh man, that's cool, I did something good, then you have someone that's going to bring you down and humble you very quickly. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
and
I think that's been the,
I'm not what I would call a quote successful author. To me, successful author, you pay the bills, you have money left over, and you've got an emergency account, and you're happy. I do this because I'm passionate about it and I love it.
right.
I'm not where I want to be. We'll just put it that way.
Well, we're going to manifest success. Okay.
I've been doing that for years, honey, and praying. I pray harder than I manifest because I do believe in God. I know manifesting to the world may or may not, but I know God will answer. So, I'm going to
Yeah.
skip
No,
a
it's,
few of
so
these.
yeah, I mean, I think you answered the question for me. That's pretty much the same situation I'm in
Right.
terms of, yeah, I mean, some people are like, oh, that's really cool. And other people are like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah. No, not for me either. And I do it full time. So, um, how much of you, Maria, ends up in your characters?
I love this question. I
I'm
love this question.
glad I asked it then.
I love this question because in this particular book, a lot of people who do know me will say that Kara sounds like me. And
Ah.
so
Oh, okay.
I counter all the time with, does Nick sound like me? And they say no. I said, does Reed sound like me? And they say no. And I say, does Sasha or Jinx or Jake or do they sound like me? No. And then I said, but guess what? They're all my characters.
Yeah.
They're all me.
Yeah.
So, they're all my characters. So, yes, there are aspects of Kara that are relatable for me, that will come off. But I think every character is my character.
Yeah.
And those characters are all amalgamations of people I really do know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all do that. We take people we know, people we've met, and we amalgamize them. We mix
Or
them
maybe
up.
just someone you saw at Target, doing something funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everything is fodder. I always say everything is fodder for a writer. You go to a dinner party, somebody tells you a story, you store it away because you're like, I love that story. I'm going to use that story.
Here's my I don't drink coffee, but my coffee mug, careful, or you'll end up in my novel.
That's it.
That's my
Bingo.
favorite thing. That's why I bought the coffee
Yeah,
mug. I
I
just
know. It's bingo. It's true. So yes, I do think there's a lot of my personality in Kara. I didn't intentionally do that. But I do share some of her commonalities. But again, they're all my characters. I always tell people. So if you do not see any of me in the other characters, I take that as a compliment.
I like that. I like that. Let me see. I've only got a few questions left, and we're really, really past time. So, what do you hope readers feel when they finish the reaction?
The second book,
Yeah, because those are the only two that are out right now. So,
yeah, I'm editing the third.
when is the
Um,
third one coming out, by the way?
oh, so much pressure. I'm in.
You said you
Here's the
wanted
thing.
people screaming for the next one, so I'm screaming.
I know. Well, and the next one, I have had some beta readers on the third one.
Okay.
So it's out there with some beta readers, but I'm in edit. I I'm hoping my goal is October 1st. So that is my goal. I have a big book fair that I'm going to be attending in November. So my goal is to get to that book fair and have three, books in the series out. So October 1st. Because I mean, the editing process is so slow. Because you just every time you go through it, you're like, I'm going to change this
Get
word.
that software, girlfriend. If you've already
I
got
know.
all 5 books written, that's what slows me down. I come out with a new book. I try to do it every 4 months. Sometimes it's 5. But if I didn't have that, so I was able to do 2 or 3 books a year before I got the editing software. Now that I have the editing software, I spend about a week, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on my schedule, other things going on, running it through this autocreate, and then I run it through Atticus. Atticus is not as difficult. But yeah, I mean, if editing is holding you up from coming out with your next launch, get autocrit. If you can go to Germany and Croatia, you can get autocrit and Atticus. Get on the script. We want these books. The outcry is here.
I'm going to have to look into that. Now, I use Vellum, which I assume is
I've
like
heard a lot of people
Atticus.
that use that.
Yeah, it took a while to get used to it. But now I've got it. It's like I've got it down pat. And I think what's wonderful, and I don't know if Atticus does this too, is that you can say this is the format I want for the Reflex series.
Yeah.
So that when you drop the next one in, it's already doing it,
Yeah,
so
that's exactly how
so it's really just getting it set up with the first book. The second book just drops right in, but you still have to clean up a few things here and there, but
right.
I do like that. But the autocrat, I think I'm gonna be downloading that tonight. So anyway, I forgot what the question was.
Well, when is the next book coming out? You said October, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, it's already written. That thing should be coming out in July.
Well, okay, so let's say September 1st. Yeah, let's just digress for a minute. I have a mom that's in hospice, so
Oh, so sorry.
she is taking up a lot of time.
Enough
Um,
so I completely
yeah,
understand.
so I have not had a whole lot of time to myself. Um, I'm not doing that much traveling. I'm really sort of, yeah. It's definitely slowed me down. I've tried to do as much as I can in the evenings. I stay up very very late, um, and try to work, but it's kind of
Is she
slowed me down
close
a
to
bit.
you? I mean, in proximity?
She is, but she is an hour drive. So
Um,
it's an hour there,
no,
2 hours
it's
maybe
not.
visiting, checking
Oh,
things out, hour back. It's a 4 hour block of your day that
I'm so
is a
sorry.
lot,
Yeah,
4 hours that I would normally be working. So
yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
yeah, yeah. Life does throw things at us that we just have to stop and take care of. I understand that. Um,
Yeah, life gets in the way.
it really does. um, if you could sit down with Maria, who started writing this series in 2014, what would you tell her?
That's a good question. No one's ever asked me that.
I try.
That's a good one.
I
That's a
told you I
good
like to do
one.
deep dives, to read between the
Congratulations.
pages. I don't like these. No, what made you want to be a writer? Question.
I know. I know. I would say be fearless. Be bold,
I
be
love that.
fearless.
I love that.
Um, I think, fear, but fear is the mind killer, right? I mean, Frank Herbert said that in the Dune books. Fear is the mind killer. I mean, fear holds us all back. So I think
Sure.
if you would ever talk to your younger self, you would say, be fearless, be brave,
Yeah,
take chances.
for
Um,
sure.
so yeah, I think had I been more fearless, had I been braver, I would have probably tried to publish these a lot earlier than I did. I certainly had the time. I think I just didn't have I wasn't brave. I wasn't committed that this was a story that anyone would want to read.
Yeah.
I was filled with self doubt. So I would say, yeah, be fearless.
I think every single writer I've talked to, and not just interviewed, but talked to, has the same thing. I wish I'd started sooner. I wish I'd believed in the story. I wished I hadn't let other people's, opinions about what I needed to be doing cut me from doing it. And even if it's not your day job, I mean, it's just been my day job for the last 6 months. So, even if it's not your day job, if you love it and it's a passion, then go for it. I mean, I completely agree with that. Fear, I think, is probably the number one thing that has kept all of us from doing whatever we're passionate about. We're just
Exactly.
playing tennis
Exactly.
or, whatever. So, then the last two questions, they're kind of questions I try to ask at the end of everything, every interview. What's something small that brings you disproportionate joy? And it can't be your kids because I found a few people automatically say, my kids, my children. So aside from your children. I
My kids. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Just a FYI, I didn't even think of that. So
probably
now I
wouldn't
feel
have either,
guilty.
but a lot do.
I feel guilty. I didn't think of that. No, I, you know what brings me joy? Small victories. We have in my little group of friends, we always say every day there's got to be a small victory. Find the small victory and find the joy in that. Like one good little thing happens every day to everyone, except that we overlook it. So
Yeah,
we always say, sometimes we'll call each other and we'll say, what's your small victory today? Because
I love that.
there's one thing like I had a crazy day today, but at the end of the day, I did find I have to get healthy coverage because my husband has retired. He's a little bit older than me, quite a bit older than me. Let's call it. He's quite a bit older than me. So, but he's finally retired. And so I have no health coverage. But after doing this for weeks, I found one that I like today. That's
Oh,
a small
good.
victory. I'm
That's a
like,
huge victory.
okay, that brought me joy. That brought me joy.
Yeah,
It's sometimes as silly as that, but I think every day find the small victory. You
yeah,
know, sometimes it's, they had your favorite cake mix at Trader Joe's, which is seasonal, and it's never there. Like they never have the pumpkin bread, and then
uh-huh.
suddenly you go to Trader Joe's and the pumpkin bread is there, and you're like, that's a small victory. It could be as simple as that. And so I say, the small victories are my joys every day because I think it keeps you going day to day to know that one small thing will happen. Sometimes multiple small things. They don't have to be big.
Yeah. And, if we can look for the small things, it makes the small things that are so annoying a little bit better. I'm actually looking for a book because the fact that you said the exact same phrase that I read I don't know if y'all ever do this, but every now and then, I just need a palate cleanser from fiction. And so I read a memoir by an indie author and I loved it so much. It was her first, book that she had published, and I'm scrolling down my Kindle as I'm reading. But it was based on her real life, and what a life she had. I mean, she was much younger than me, but she had had some horrific things happen to her, and she just wrote about them with humor, and it was just so wonderful. But she started this Find Your Joy or Find My Joy project, and actually it was my suggestion because she had done it with some girlfriends, and I interviewed her. She was, I think, the second person I had ever interviewed with Indie Author Access, and I asked her how the project was going, and she said, "Well, that's just something I do with my girlfriends because it was in the book." And I said, "Oh my gosh, you need to launch this on your website. You could do this nationally or internationally, and it'd be fantastic." And I'm so, I guess, flattered, but she did. She actually launched this Find My Joy project, and it's just wonderful. And I'm trying to look for the name of the book because that book is so worth reading. But I've read so much. My mother reads like a book a day, and so my Kindle is full. I know I'm not going to be able to find it, but it's something about the room or in the
I'll
room
search
or
it. I'll search it. But yeah, I mean, small victories are huge. I mean, you have to have something every day. Maybe
yeah,
again, this is an age thing.
yeah,
You learn that one good thing is going to happen. You're just, when you're young, you overlook the good thing and you focus only on the bad. But you know
yeah,
what? Bad things are going to happen every day. I mean, there's difficult people out there. They're going to get in your way. I think as we get older, we're like, yeah, not paying attention to you. I'm going to look for that, one good thing. The rest of you are, you know,
yes. I found the book. I'm sorry about that, but when I read a good book that sticks with me, I like to shout it out. It's The Room to Be Brave, a memoir by April Day Garcia. She's on TikTok. I interviewed her, and she on her website does I think it's called The Joy Project or Find Your Joy Project, something like that. But you'll be able to, when you read the book, you'll know exactly what it is because I'm sure she's probably put that in her book by now. But it's a phenomenal book. I highly recommend it. But it's the memoir, it's not fiction. And she's a phenomenal woman too. But what a story she has. But you've been wonderful. I have one last question, but before we jump into that, tell us where to find your books, but make sure to use, well, we're already on restriction because I don't know what I've said or what you said. I literally, it's like you can say my face and they're like, you're on restriction. I feel like a
I
teenager
had no
again.
idea. I had no idea we were being so censored.
I mean, I know. I didn't know we were so bad, right?
It's like, oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
tell us where to find
Okay.
your books and don't worry
Okay.
about how to say it
So it's
again.
pretty much both books are on pretty much at this point. I just successfully got the paperback and the um, hardcover uploaded. So it's pretty much on every platform. It is
Okay.
available on KU
Okay.
in ebook. But again, it's also on every other platform.
Okay. Do you
But
have the
the
covers
ebook
to
is
put up
only,
again?
pardon?
Show the
Oh,
books again so
yes.
everyone can see the cover. Make sure they
Okay,
grab the
so
right one.
here's the book.
Okay. And is that on
And then
KU? I'm pulling up. It
yes,
looks
it
like
is
it's
on
five ninety
KU.
nine.
No,
Looks like it's
it
five
should
ninety
be on
nine.
KU.
The
Oh, please
reflex
don't get me started on them.
is
We're not
showing
on a
five
best
ninety
friend
nine.
basis,
I
me and
promise I'm looking
KU.
at it right now. I have
Me
heard
and
so
KU
many
have
people
fight
complaining
time.
about the Zon lately because they're messing up so many things.
Oh, awful, awful. It's And this is the second book. I do not have a
Okay.
physical copy as of yet. That is the
Okay.
cover, the reaction,
Okay. So
that
the
the ebook
reflex
and the
and the
audio
reaction.
book.
They're available
Yeah.
on Kindle, but hopefully KU. But either way, it's worth $5.99 if you're going to buy it.
No, it yeah, and
And
it is on KU. It's yeah. What is going on with them? I
I
have a
know.
question for you. Do I get to
Okay.
ask a question? I have a question because
Okay.
this comes up a lot, and I'm just curious as to your having now read a book of yours. What is your feeling on trigger warnings?
I
I did not use them.
I think it depends on the situation. Like if it's a RAPE or a schmurder or something that is graphic enough, and it depends on how you write it because I don't do spicy. I have some spicy. I have some books that have some pretty spicy scenes, but I think it just depends on how graphic you are with it. Because some of the things, well, like since you read The Last Safe House, you saw her parents get murdered in front of her.
Right.
And there was a little bit, but nothing like there's a scene in, the scene was in The Last Safe House when Oliver was caught by
Yeah. Right.
Nikolai. And I thought that was probably more graphic, even almost than her parents,
Yeah.
elimination.
No, and that's why I ask you because I've now that
So
I've
I
read
think it
that
depends on
book.
how graphic, and
Yeah.
how graphic. In book 3, The Last Rescue, one of the agents is held captive. She goes through a heck of a lot, and so I think I did put more trigger warnings in that. But I still try not to get so graphic that. The Last Safe House, Amy, who's probably still in here, she hasn't given up on us. She had it going, the audiobook going in her car while her grandson was in the car because nothing was so horrible or graphic or there's very very few cuss words and no spice in that book, but hardly any spice even in the other books. So I like it to try to keep it family friendly, but sometimes, especially with the romantic suspense and with the whole nature of the thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against them. I think it's fine for people that feel like they need trigger warnings to put them in there. I do put, just I don't list them. This has this and this and this and this and that and that and that, and I don't do that. I just say, this. There might be graphic scene that might disturb you, if you have trauma, or whatever. Something I forget how I word it, but I'm a little bit more generic. That's the word. I'm a little bit more generic about my trigger warnings. I know some people that have 3 pages of trigger warnings and they literally listen. I'm thinking, gosh, by the time you read the trigger warnings, you already know everything that's in the book. I mean, there's
You like
still,
you like thanks for the spoiler. Yeah, thanks for the
yeah,
spoiler.
exactly.
Uh, yeah, because I don't really have any trigger warnings on mine, and I think I've had one review where somebody thought I should. It hasn't come up but once,
Well, there's
but
always somebody, you know what I mean? I'm sorry. I just put it out there. There's always
it's so
somebody.
true. It's so true. But I see now I didn't see any trigger warnings. Now I had your ebook, but I didn't see any trigger warnings for the last safe house. So that's why I asked because I was like, oh, okay, she doesn't have trigger warnings.
I
That's
don't think I
cool.
did
Because
them when I wrote that. They weren't a thing. That
there,
came out a year ago, last June,
yeah.
and I don't think trigger warnings were a thing. And I just never went back and added them. I have added other things since then, but I just never thought to go back and add trigger warnings. But again, to me, there's nothing in there that's so horrific
Well,
and
I
graphic
don't
and
think so
whatever.
either. But yeah, but there's always going to be the one person
There's
who
always going
does.
to be
Yeah.
somebody. But you know what? I've had people tell me I needed to not be a writer because one of my characters just gets so much. In Beneath the Tainted Sky, it's a historic romance in the Civil War period, and the guy in there that this young girl's forced to marry, he is horrible. I mean, I hated him writing it. I didn't even like typing his name. I hated him so bad. But that's part of it. Every book needs a villain. In this case, it happened to be her husband. So, I don't write for other people. I hope that they like the books, and I had a measure of people that like the book, and I love it when they like. I love hearing from readers, whether it be through reviews or emails or whatever. That's what we breathe for. Those are I call them paychecks of the
Exactly.
heart. So those paychecks of the heart are when someone says, "Oh, I love this book," and couldn't put it down or whatever. But I don't write for that. I write because I have this freaking dream and I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, that'd be a good book. And kind of like what you said, and I've heard a lot of writers say, I hadn't read a book like that. And I thought, well, I'd like to read a book like that. So darn it, I'll write it. So that's why I write. I guess I write for me. You said something earlier about you're selfish, whatever. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just selfish. I just write a book I would like to read because no one else will
Yeah. I
read
mean, and the thing is, if you're writing to market, you're not writing what you want to
Exactly.
write. You're writing to market. Again, it becomes it's a calculation. It's an
But
equation.
honestly,
It's
I think
math.
the readers, because you have to find your reader, and that's going to be different for everybody. My problem is I write in different genres, so I have a certain amount of readers that read everything I write. They don't care if it's historic romance or contemporary romance or romance suspense. I mean, they just want it because they love my voice, they love whatever. But then I have other people, they might only like my contemporary romance, or they might only enjoy, my story about two elderly sisters who has no romance at all in it. Well, there's a little bit of old woman and old lady romance in there, but not much. So, you have to find your reader. And once you find your reader, which is easier to write in one genre, once you find your reader, they're not going to sweat the small stuff. They're going to hear your voice and they're going to appreciate the authenticity of hearing your heart writing to their heart, if that makes sense. And they're not going to want you to write, some big commercial success necessarily, or to write for the market. They're tuning into your heart and what you're writing about, and that's what they fall in love with, and that's what's going to keep them coming. So I'm not about writing for other people or even readers. It's just, it is what it is. Getting back to you publish wide. You said it's available pretty much everywhere. So you're publishing wide. It's on Barnes and
Yes.
Noble, all of the places. Okay,
The
good. I
ones we
just want
can't
to make
say.
that clear.
Yes.
Go check her books out, y'all. They're fantastic. I just
Can
know.
I
I
can I
haven't
say my
read them.
website? Am I allowed to say my own website?
Say it. We're actually off a restriction, but we're about to get off the air. So tell them your
No, it's
website.
as simple as my name, mariadenison.com, MariaDenison, mariadenison.com. There are links to buy the books in there. There are newsletter links to sign up. There are little short stories that I send out sometimes. And I'm going to be doing some deleted scenes soon where I'm going to post some deleted scenes from the first book. The first book actually had quite a bit of deleted scenes. When I edited, I decided there were chunks that the reader didn't know about, but they're still great scenes. So yeah, go to my website and all the
So they
information
can get
is
signed
there.
copies on your website.
You could do that on TikTok Shop. I can say that. Go to
Yes, you can
TikTok
say that. I'm
Shop.
sure they'll love you for that.
Go to TikTok. If you go to TikTok Shop, you can get signed copies. You even get some little freebies along with it.
I
And
wanted
it
to
is,
add, go ahead.
and I was going to say, it is less expensive on TikTok Shop than through the other platforms.
Okay. Um, Amy we were talking about trigger warnings. She said, and I loved what she said, I feel like people should read the blurb and decide for themselves the way they have for a million freaking years. So I completely agree with that. And I'm
I
not
do
against
agree with
that.
that,
If you
Amy.
feel
That's
like your
why I
book's
had to
so
ask.
out there
I'm
that you
sorry.
need to do that, I was going to say, if you feel like your book is so out there, you need to do that, then do it. But on the flip
Yeah.
side, if you feel like, it's up to, well, buyer beware. If it's up to the reader, read the blurb. And if it sounds like something you can't handle, then don't buy it. Take care of your mental health first. Okay, you ready for the last question?
Yes.
That's not the hardest question of the night. You're fine. I just like to save it for the last so we can end on a good note. And thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed you. We're definitely have to stay connected. And by the way, if you want to, like maybe when your next book comes out or whatever, we can do a book giveaway. I'd love to do. Not supposed to say giveaway. You can't say give. Book
Is that what they say?
giveaway.
Schmiveaway? Yes, I've seen
Giveaway.
that.
I would love to host that for you if you want to do that. So just reach out, let me know.
I
What is your
absolutely do.
Oh, good, good. It's a great way to get followers and readers, though. It's out there. What is your favorite word? I just added this question a few weeks ago, and I freaking love it.
You are
Because
not.
it's
Okay,
right or
I know what
something.
it is. I can't say it.
Oh,
I'm,
well, is it a cuss word?
yes,
Okay. Is it the F word?
yes.
On
As an,
Inside
as an,
Acting.
as a descriptive. like an adjective. I mean, I'm from the East Coast. Okay. So, first of all, I was kind of raised, my vernacular is that of a drunken sailor. So, I mean, I'm sorry, when you live that close to New York City, when you're in construction, I was in the construction field, on a
Rubs off.
management side. You can't imagine what I've been exposed to. I mean, and this isn't about me, but nothing surprises me. Nothing anyone can say. I mean, I am Teflon. Um, so I think if you knew more about who I am as a person, you would see the connection between myself and my protagonist, Kara. But yes, that is, I've had a very rough and tumble background in terms of my employment. Like I said, I mean, very professional, but again, the vernacular when you're working in and around New York City is, if
What it
you
is.
can't, you have to use it. You have to use it. Nobody will respect you if you do not. I
Okay.
mean, I mean that in the sincerest form. But I mean, when somebody is screaming at you in your face and trying to intimidate you, and you need to get a job done, you need to scream right back at them in their face, and you need to make sure
Wow.
that they understand you are the boss and they're going to
Wow.
listen. So,
I would never
unfortunately,
survive there.
yeah, most people would be eaten up and spit out. But I do have a very, like I said, I don't intimidate. Um, I don't intimidate easily. It's a learned behavior. I mean, when you have that kind of background, you're like,
Yeah.
even now, my husband, like if there's an argument to be had, he will pull me out of a conversation and say, "You go get him, Tiger." And he will push me because he knows I'm the one. I'm the one who's
I was
gonna.
going to say that's not necessarily a bad thing because I'm the opposite. I'm very easily offended or hurt or intimidated, and it was one of the things I hate about myself. But I can't get over. I lived the opposite. I was in a very sheltered. My father was a minister. I didn't even know
Oh
what
yeah.
drugs and things were until after I was married. So it was the opposite of you. So I get that. Amy also said if Miles, that's our grandson, can handle my book without trigger, then there you go. He's 8. Is he 8? Amy? I can't remember how old he is. He's a cutie pie. He's
Okay,
helping her
Amy,
write her book.
do not listen to my audio with Miles. I'm going to tell you right now, do not listen to the
I
audio
told
of
her
my
not to
book.
listen to the other books with Miles in the car either because they get. I didn't want the first book to be bad because Krista's 18 and my granddaughter's 17, and I thought I can imagine my granddaughter going through something like this, and I wouldn't want you know, all that sex and all that stuff. I can't go there with an 18-year-old. I know it's back to my upbringing. I'm just intimidated. I was sheltered. I want everybody in the world to be
Okay,
sheltered.
so listen, you need to call me when you ever need to get into a fight with somebody. You call me because I will have your back.
Thank you so much.
I will push you
I'm
aside
gonna
and
put you
fight
on
for
speed
you.
dial.
Yeah, no, I'm a fighter. I wish sometimes I wasn't, but I am, and I don't make
I
any. I accept
personally think
that.
that
Let's we go
you know
back to
what
that accepting.
the fact that you are is probably going to make you a much better marketer because that aggression, you said in the beginning that you didn't like doing that, but you'll learn to like it, and that aggression inside of you will help you overcome that real quick. Before you know it, you're going to be doing just like the rest of us. I've got a new book out, read it, so you'll get there. Hey, I have enjoyed you so much. I'm trying to read the things. It filtered the name of Christine. Um, I have enjoyed you so much, and I've never ever had one of these last 2 hours long. So I did have one that lasts hour and a half long, I think, and maybe a couple of them. But I've just enjoyed you so much. Let's stay in touch, and when you're ready to do a
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
giveaway,
you for having me. It's been a
yeah,
pleasure and it's been
thank
wonderful
you.
and amazing. And you were lovely. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. You're so sweet. Make sure you're following the new account, Indie Author Access, on here.
I already am.
And oh, that's right, you are. Never mind. I already know that because I've been pushing your stuff out. Because I've got some huge announcements. One huge announcement is going to be on my author account about something I'm doing for my readers, and the other huge announcement, it's not solidified yet. I probably won't know for about 2 weeks, but it's going to be with furthering my indie author brand, indie author access brand. So stay tuned. And thank you so much. And if you want to do this again when you have another book come up, then holler out at me
I
and
would
we'll
love
get back
to.
to
I would love
it.
to. Let's stay in touch.
All
Have a
right,
good
don't hang
weekend
up.
and
I have to
thank
hang
you.
you up or you won't get your 3 cents from all that likes or whatever for tomorrow.
Oh
And
my
if once you miss
gosh.
that 3 cents, you won't be able to go to Germany again. I enjoy you. Hey, if you're down below, Amy, I know you've been here since the first minute. I appreciate it. You're always such a trooper. You're always like my BFF in here. I appreciate all of your input. You give such great suggestions. And all the other guests that are in here, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tune in next week right here, still on Casey Mitchell, author Casey Mitchell, for the very last Indie Author Access. Let me look at my calendar. Yes, the very last Indie Author Access live will be here in next week, and then after that is going to be the new account. So thank you all so much. Love you all. I'm going to hang up now. Bye.